Evening and a very warm welcome to you all to the CTAC virtual meeting on October 7th, 2020. Thank you all for being here. That is very much appreciated, you taking time out of your busy day to be here. I sincerely hope, trust, and pray that you and all of your loved ones are all weathering and navigating your way through our nation's multiple crises, which seems to be increased day by day, and you're all doing so very safely and with good health and very successfully. Please also always keep all of the unfortunate victims and their loved ones out there in your regular prayers and on top of mind, and with some humane and some mutually respectful considerations. Most importantly, please remember to vote and vote early so your votes will be recognized. I will now gavel tonight's virtual Zoom CTAC meeting started. Tonight we have Ms. Lisa Wan, who will manage and control the IT aspects of this virtual meeting. And Lisa will now display the rules of engagement for this meeting for your reading, understanding, and for maintaining order. Please go ahead, Lisa. There you go. And please read through all of that. I will note for those who are not on screen, who are perhaps calling in via telephone, that you will be given an opportunity during the public comment to speak in your microphone of your telephone or other device. So stand by and wait for a cue on that. Lisa will take care of that for you. So let me give 30 more seconds for you to read through the rules of engagement. In the meantime, Mr. Coordinator, is there anything that you personally want to emphasize on these rules?
Yes. Thank you, Chair. I'd like to just emphasize, if you have any difficulties, please call Lisa Wan. Her number is there, 954-716-8823. If you have any technical difficulties, please call Lisa Wan. Also, I'd like to emphasize, if you wish to provide a comment, please use the raise the hand button on your Zoom panel. Wait to be recognized by the chair. Once recognized by the chair, please provide your name and your question, okay, for our citizens.
Thank you for that, Mr. Coordinator. I will also emphasize another little detail that once you've been recognized and you say your piece, just for efficiency, please yield back to me or say thank you or back to the chair, something along those lines, so that we can keep the meeting moving very efficiently. Thank you all for that. So with that said, Lisa, thank you, and we'll just move on now. I will ask the CTAC coordinator, Mr. Chance, to please confirm that we have quorum for this meeting. Mr. Coordinator, please.
Thank you, Chair. As we get started, or before we get started, I want to make sure and mention a couple things. Please, we have a chat on the Zoom. Please refrain from using that chat. Once again, we do have a chat, but please refrain from using that chat. If you need to, once again, to speak, please raise the hand or say through the chair. Wait to be recognized, and once the chair recognizes you, you may speak. Please also mute your lines, mute your microphones, please. If you're not speaking, please mute it. All right. And I think that's about it I wanted to talk about. So right now, go ahead and call the roll. Oh, wait, right before I call the roll, please also make sure your cell phones are muted if you do have your phone. If you're unmuted. All right, I'll start with a roll. Everybody can unmute right now as I call the roll to say present. Alexander Adams.
Present.
Maya Child. Alan B. Fishman.
Here.
Susan Gouache. Benjamin Hendrick,
Here, present.
Jasmine Johnson,
Present.
Marlon Kelly Sr.,
Here.
Antonio Ray,
Present.
Susan Shine, Lee Swarland, Naomi Wright,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Daniel Iglesias,
I'm present.
Chairperson Dr. Claudius Carnegie.
Present.
Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coordinator. And let's see here. I appreciate all of the emphasis placed on some of those requirements for an orderly, effective, and efficient CTAC meeting. And I want to thank you all for cooperating with these requirements and abiding by these requirements. As you all know, the meeting is recorded on YouTube, so we want to certainly give a good impression to the public out there who might be viewing these meetings. So again, thank you very much, and I look forward to your kind contributions and active participation and mutual respect and understanding during this meeting. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, I will now invite a motion and a seconder for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Ms.
Naomi.
Wright,
Yes.
and a seconder? Anyone second?
I'll second. Alan seconds. It's fine.
Mr. Fishman. So Ms. Wright and Mr. Fishman moved and seconded for the record. Somebody's got a dog in the background there.
Whose dog is that?
All right. Could everybody, if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone, and that will take care of that. Thank you so much. So now that we have a mover and a seconder, I'm going to raise a question just by asking oppositions to say nay. So if you oppose to the approval of the agenda, say nay. I give you 30 seconds for that. Less than 30 seconds, and I'm going to say, sounds like a unanimous approval, Mr. Coordinator, for the records. So thank you all for that. I'll do the same thing for the minutes of our last meeting. I now invite a motioner and a seconder for the approval of the CTAC meeting, and that meeting is from September 2nd, 2020. Meeting minutes of September 2020. Mover and seconder, please.
So moved.
Ms. Wright moves. Seconder?
I'll second Alan.
Same, Ms. Wright and Mr. Fishman, mover and seconder. I'm going to raise a question. Those who oppose the approval of the minutes, CTAC meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2020, please say nay. I'm going to give 15 seconds this time. Hearing none, seems like it's unanimously approved, Mr. Coordinator. So thank you all for that. And we will now move forward in conducting the meeting as per the agenda items, which brings me to agenda item number 5, CTAC membership update. Mr. Coordinator, I think that's yours.
At this point in time, Chair, we have no update.
All right. And I recall that 6 of us needed to take action in finding a new sponsor. Anything to report on that?
Yes, Chair. Actually 7 members have been contacted as was promised, and they're taking it from there.
Okay, 7 members, not 6 then, huh?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and there's some time limit on that, Mr. Coordinator?
Yes. Actually, until the changing of the guards will be happening at the next TPO meeting in November.
So by the November meeting, all 7 of our members who needs to be re-sponsored need to be approved by that date, going through the required process.
Right, before that date, correct.
Okay. All right, so I just wanted to have the record show that what actions ought to be taken by 7 members of our board. Certainly would like to see you all back, so if you're interested in coming back and serving, please take timely action. We'd love to have you all back. I think we've been operating as a pretty good united team in getting the work of CTAC done, and I thank you all for that. So having said that, we are now going to move on to the next agenda item,
Any
which is,
questions could be posed, Chair?
and who is that?
Marlon.
Okay, go ahead, you're recognized. You're on mute.
You know, I use the app. You know, I use that app every day, or every day that I ride public transportation. And oh God, Paul, I sort of hesitate to, it was so, okay. First of all, obviously I stopped riding the bus on March 13th. I can tell you the exact last day that I stopped riding the bus. I rode it twice. But you know, that was without fare. In probably maybe in May and in June. Anyway, speaking of technically, okay, I just don't even know where to begin, because it went from actually being somewhat accurate, although I'd have to say, so for instance, if I had an appointment, say I had an appointment at 3 o'clock and I wanted to get the 2:20 bus, and it got to be 2:40 and there was no bus and I had to be downtown at 3 o'clock, I would call an Uber. And then I'd want to know if the bus was coming. There was no consistency, let's put it that way. It's unreliable. Sometimes, like 3/4 of the time it would work and 1/4 of the time it didn't work on the old app. On the new app, the route was backwards. The stop was 10th Street, then it was 16th Street, then it was 14th Street while I'm standing at 8th Street. Then it was, I mean, it was complete, or it was giving you the north to south rather than the south to north. It when it first came out. So I only used it for 2 months or less, so it's not fair to know what it is now. But it had so many technical glitches, which I didn't understand, because this was supposed to be the new and improved version. And they kept telling me that they were working on it at the time. So that that's been my personal experience with the app, although it's months ago now. So I don't really know what's happened since then. And since I'm not using it as we speak, I also deleted it from my phone to be put back when I use it again. That's
Okay,
my,
that's it.
yeah, thank you.
All right, I see Jasmine, you're recognized. Unmute, unmute.
Thank you. So my first part is the data in terms of what data are you all making a conscious effort to collect and how are you using it? And I'll let you start with that part.
Well, since I mentioned how we use the usage data to determine the flow of the app, to give you an idea, we basically add, if you think of it as counters per screen, and we have tracking to identify what are the most accessed features and functions, so which ones are the most popular. So I don't know if that helps.
Okay, and in terms of using it in real time, are you making those modifications with the information that you're finding? So for example, some of the feedback that was just mentioned about users who would still be using the app if it were working and addressing those technical glitches. I guess this would fall into my second question. What are the dynamics of your team? Would this be the only team that is centrally working on developing and creating this app? And if so, what are the dynamics of it?
So to address the first portion of your question, you asked if we're using that data dynamically or making adjustments to the app dynamically. Dynamic might be implies agility to it, like quickly. So we observe and we use that data. However, when we plan our releases or updates for the application, we do it from a point forward. So yes, we use the data, and we what we rely on a lot are the comments. So we get comments and suggestions a lot through 311, and we rely on those a lot, bug reports, that kind of thing. As for the dynamics of the team, it's a team that's dedicated right now. They're dedicated to the app. It's a relatively small group of us. Some of us, have other functions, but the primary focus of that team is to develop this app.
Okay, and so you all do the development and the management of this app. Is it a short term or would this be a long term contract? I'm asking this question because in terms of the feedback model, when you all collecting the data and making these updates in a periodical time, it's a matter of basically saying if there was a site or if there was a timing issue, I could imagine your feedback to the city or to whoever is funding you all that these are all of the elements that we have found wrong. And in real time, we are getting updates that need to be modified in order for this app to be successful before we market yet another inefficient app. Because I get hey, if these are all new changes, it sounds like you guys are making some major updates. But if what I'm hearing, it's a team of less than 5 people that, depending on the specialties that you all have, whether it is data and the use of data, coding, marketing and development, it may be a dysfunction that the team may not be large enough or the project scope may not be large enough, because this app and the potential that it can have to connect all systems should be done on, I can imagine, a significant level. But again, I don't know what budget or team is really behind it. I'll leave it there.
Right. No, absolutely. Yes. So I understand that comment. And just to remind everyone that we're a group that supports the Department of Transportation and Public Works. So a lot of the decision making, we work closely with them to work through some of these comments and suggestions. But ultimately, it is the department's application, and we look to them whenever they want to make decisions on changes. We'll change accordingly.
All right. So it's an evolving process.
It's evolving. Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Got to move on. Seeing none. Thank you very much, Tony. And I guess you would take back some of these comments and plug it into your improvement model, right?
Yes, thank you. Will do.
All right, thank you. So we're going to move on to the next item, number 9, which is the Miami-Dade Department of Transportation and Public Works waterborne fixed routes. And this is being presented at the request of Lee Swerdlin, and it's being presented by Irene Hijidas. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Miami-Dade Department of Transportation and Public Works Chief Transportation Enhancements. So Irene, the floor is yours.
Thank you, everybody. I'm glad to be here, and hopefully I will be able to provide you some overview of what is going on right now.
Hold on a sec. We've got some audio issues. Paul, do you, oh, it is gone now. Go ahead, please.
I've been working on this for quite some time.
It's on your end, Irene. I'm not sure what's going on.
I have everything up on.
Okay, go ahead now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah, maybe you have your phone too close to the computer or something. Go ahead.
I haven't moved. I just click on the mute again and unmute. That's weird. If you know, as you may know, the TPO has been working on this since 2003, 2004. And during that time, obviously, the city of Miami, Miami-Dade County was not as dense with as much population as we have today. 2007, they issued an RFI to explore ideas and to get an idea of what the cost would be to actually implement commuter service on Biscayne Bay. And from that, it was very difficult to determine whether this is based on how the questions were posed and how they were answered. And at the end of the day, without the density, the cost was really prohibitive for all of the routes that they were planning on proposing. So comes 2009, 2012, we have this biggest boom. Our traffic starts increasing. And there's truly a need now to really explore and put once again in the table waterborne transportation as an option. So obviously, just to make sure, we have several types of waterborne transportation. The ones that we're going to be talking today is commuter service, which has a fixed route and a fixed schedule. We're not going to be talking about water taxi, which is an on-demand service, nor about recreational components. So if in about 2016, we went ahead and 2018, we issued an RFI because we determined that one of the most densely populated areas is really towards Stony Isles. So Stony Isles have 97% higher density than the city of Miami, and is 87% smaller per square mile than the city of Miami. And they have really no decompression routes. You also then get accumulated with Bar Harbor, Stony Isles, Surfside, and Aventura. And we started to talk to all of the municipalities to trying to get an idea of their desire for the system and to get an idea also where the stops may be if this was actually implemented. We created a report, and the report was presented to the Board of Commissioners. So 2018, we went ahead and we issued that RFI. That RFI was only answered by one firm, and it was very, very good, the way that it was answered. It provided a lot of information. At the same time, I don't know if you remember Commissioner Higgins, and next slide. Commissioner Higgins wanted to really start looking at waterborne transportation as a means to decompressing and alleviating the traffic between Miami and Miami Beach due to the reconstruction of 395 and the Signature Bridge. During that time, we were looking that if you wanted to go from our building in downtown to South Beach, a trip that typically takes you 15 minutes, we were over 45 minutes in traffic. And the traffic backs up all the way up to I-95. That was at the same time as we were getting and evaluating the RFI response that we received. As a result of this, an operator reached out to us saying whether we do it with the county or municipality, we are going to be doing this by ourselves. And we would like to learn about the studies that Miami-Dade County has done and what potential opportunities there will be to actually really establish a service that makes sense for the community. And I said, well, funny that you ask. We're going to start evaluating East-West route as a commuter service. Is that something that you would be interested in? And they said, absolutely. So as part of our talks with this operator, which by the way, the name is Poseidon Ferry LLC. Next slide. And we already have done some of this evaluations, but now we were really in depth. And obviously the biggest considerations have to do with the type of vessels and really where you're going to be docking to see where you have the facilities. And to keep it this economical, we needed to look at existing infrastructure. So we wouldn't have to go a huge amount of time during the permitting, U.S. Corps of Engineers, Fish and Wildlife, DERM, and everybody else. So if we were using existing infrastructure with the correct marine operating permits, you are suddenly making a significant effort of reducing the cost of a commuter service. So on the city of Miami, we evaluated about 7 sites. We evaluated north of 395. We had actually the Venetian Causeway. We have the CI Marina. But that one obviously has one very short and low bridge. So depending on the type of vessel, the marina may not work if you're trying to go east-west. We also then went to the other side, and I want to talk a little bit more detail with some of the other slides that you have in there. But in this slide, for example, you can see the ones that we touch. We touch in the antenna side. We look at PAM. And when we were talking to PAM, actually, we looked at 3 different sites. We look at the FEC slip and all of the restrictions that it has. We looked at actually Bayside Marina south of that, which is not shown in here. There's a little amphitheater, and there is actually a dock in place. We look at Shopping Plaza, and as you know, there is a very large vessel that is always parked in there. And then we looked at the Hyatt James L. Knight Center. In the city of Miami Beach, we find that there's absolutely no public land, and it becomes extremely complex because the Miami Beach Marina is not controlled by the city of Miami Beach, but by a private operator. And apparently they have jurisdiction to do whatever they want. So we started looking at the Miami Beach Marina with the assistance of the city of Miami Beach. We started negotiations. We also looked at, there is what they call the pilot slip, which is in South Point. There is a little inlet that is created there. We looked at that location. We looked between the 395 and the Miami Beach Marina space. And then at the end, we looked at the Bentley Bay Marina, which is a private marina. Next slide. The next, let's go to the next slide so we can see, I can see what the topics are. So when we start looking at the antenna, at the platform, the cost to actually renovate that platform is significant. It's also the submerged lands are owned by the city of Miami, so they're the ones who have jurisdiction. And we find out that that antenna, that site is actually off limits 2 months out of the years. They are 1 month where Design Miami takes it during our Basel, the upland, which means that we cannot use it as an access to the Metro Mover station. And the other one is the yacht show that also takes place, and for a month out of the year, it is not available. With this in mind, it is very confusing for riders as a commuter to actually be directed to different types of locations within this. We evaluated PAM, and our idea was to really get it south of 395. And FDOT owns the right of way, and FDOT actually had leased a portion to PAM, to the city of Miami, and we thought that we will have direct access to the Metro Mover at that location. Then subsequently in conversations with PAM, they did not want to see the vessel. We also had DERM involved. DERM sent the divers, and we were looking at all the benthic resources on the bottom of the bay. And based on that and all information that we were able to gather, we had 3 options. And at the end of the day, the option that PAM wanted us to pursue was the one that brought us further to the south, very close to that, with that, if you see the Paris Art Museum, Miami is the arrow below that. And we went ahead and we measured all the walking distances and accessibility, ADA, and everything else that was required. We looked at the FEC and we talked to DERM. We evaluated the restrictions, DERM have mentioned that as a temporary measure, until something more permanent could be built, that they will be willing to allow a vessel that is the size of the one that Poseidon was proposing. Bayside takes too long to actually get in and out of there. And the one that is directly south on an amphitheater, south of Bayside, also takes too long for anybody to walk. Then we looked at the shopping plaza, and the shopping plaza has that vessel that provides a fairly good income to the Bayfront Trust. And the city of Miami will not consider actually relocating the vessel anywhere. So we wouldn't have that as an alternative. Commissioner Higgins also, when we were evaluating this, and she had a very good point, she said that she would prefer not to have anything where actual patrons has to cross Biscayne Boulevard. And the reasoning for that is that first it will take them forever to walk to that location, and then forever to walk for the lights and to cross the street. And then when you cross the street, you have to go either north or south to actually get to a Metro Mover station. When this was happening, the city of Miami came to us and offered the James L. Knight Center and the Hyatt Regency, because they are in control of the James L. Knight Center, not the Hyatt. And they have control over the Riverwalk and on the wall at that location. So we immediately started to assess whether the vessel that the operator wanted to use would clear the Brickell Bridge. The last thing we want to do is open a bridge and create traffic upland. And one thing led to another one, and that became our preferred location, and really is because of multimodal transportation. In this location, we are next to two Metro Mover areas. One of them that takes it directly to Bricker, and the other one is connecting to All Looks. It's a transfer station. It has also share ride. It has not only the bike share, but Ubers and Lyft and on-call and on-demand vehicles. It has really nice air conditioning waiting area. It has amenities. It has restaurants. It was just perfect for people to come in and out. So in terms of where we sit with that right now, the city of Miami and the operator have been working on all of the titles, submerged land leases with the state, with DERM for the marine operating permit, and they feel that within 2 weeks they should be ready with that site. Next slide. In here you can see where to get to the Knight Center Metro Mover, you have to go through the building. And so we are preparing logos, decals and stickers that you can put on our signage, directing people from the Metro Mover to this location where they can board the vessel. Next slide. In here, and you can go through these slides. This just gives you an idea of the area where the vessel will be stopping. This is a view from the inside, and you can see Poseidon already has the booth inside the Hyatt. This area was given by the city of Miami. They are going to be paying some fee for docking at that wall and some fee for actually looking at this, using that booth. But it's right outside the lobby to the Hyatt and in direct connection to the James L. Knight Center. Next slide. In terms of the Miami Beach potential size, here the three sites, the one on the bottom of this is that recessed area, which they call the pilot stop. Then we looked at the south side of the marina, right next to that wall. And then we looked at the north side. The north side always was a preferred option because it reduces the number of transfers. If we end up in South Beach, on South Point, you will have to take an potential additional trolley stop. The operator did consider providing and chartering a dedicated small bus to be able to bring people in and out of the vessel. On the north side, on the other hand, you have the complications of actually crossing. We have the complication of how small the area is between the bridge and the marina itself. So you will have to be dealing with the submerged lands and leases between FDOT, City of Miami, and the Miami Beach. However, all of documents, the operator had hired an engineer, and they had worked in all of the options simultaneously because they really were trying to deploy the center. After about a year of negotiations with Miami Beach Marina, the one on the north will take over a year to actually get to a permitting point. So we needed something temporary. So the operator started talking to his Miami Beach Marina and was able to find the area where the marina was like a wall, very close to what they wanted to do permanently. And then a year later, after the contract is all drafted and on their hands, there's total silence. We have no response from the marina. And the operator already has bought the vessel, already have modified the vessel, has hired 27 individuals to actually work on this. He has all of their licenses, business tax receipts. He has the liquor license. He has Coast Guard inspections. They have gone through absolutely everything. So they went ahead and they reached to the Bentley Bay Marina, which is a private marina. Next slide. And there it is. So that marina right now, it has a submerged land lease, and it has commercial uses already in place. They have rentals for jet skis. It is important to note that the owner of the marina has nothing to do with the condominium itself. When the marina was approached, they were really excited. They provided a very good deal to the operator. Most of everybody was really happy. There was actually a presentation that was made to the Fourth Avenue Association. They were very supportive. And again, the city of Miami Beach has been very supportive. Administration side, my understanding is that has been very supportive. Right now, they're working through some modifications to the submerged land to make sure, I think at the vessel that they're trying to park, it extends 3 to 5 feet over the submerged land. If you didn't know that the submerged land was there, you would have never known that. But the operator is doing everything by the book. And I believe that there's some issues right now that they're trying to work out. But that is the preferred site. The vessel clears the bridge, obviously. There is some concern about what will happen once construction of all of that happens, the Sam Galvin site, the bridge over 395, the closure of 6th Street, so on and so forth. But within that site, where the green arrow is where you have all of our buses and trolleys stopping. So this one is perfect, ideal. And then across the street, you have the Publix, which is, there's also parking if somebody wanted to park there. So again, every site that was considered was based on multimodal connectivity and the best possible approach to get people from point A to B. Now again, the idea is to get people out of their cars and commuting fairly fast through using the bay. So right now, the operator is offering, next slide. Let's see what I put on the next one. This is some pictures of the Bentley Bay. It's already ready to start service. It's an air-conditioned waiting area right in front of the space. This site has 2 restaurants already in place, so it will bring businesses to those restaurants. The operator will be actually installing a gate to stop people from inadvertently traveling through the marina and in front of the property. He's also going to be providing 2 security guards to make sure that they are directing the people right off the property onto the street, right next to the 395 bridge. And in there you can see also a little picture of what their Poseidon booth for ticket sales is. They're fully digital. You can access them on the site. Next slide. Next slide. So in here you can see where the route is going to be. It's using Fisherman Channel, which is a high-speed channel. It becomes idle once you hit the Brickell Key Island. Then it's idle speed. There's absolutely no ventric or protection zones in this area. We have followed all of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife maps that identify not only the speeds of the vessels that can travel to, but also identifies all protected areas from manatees and sea grasses. Next. This is the vessel that is already down here. It is a catamaran. It meets all of the requirements that were specified by the TPO and subsequent report done in 2017. It has an outdoor area for people that wants to enjoy the open air, and it has an air-conditioned area. It has, you can see it has a little snack bar and it will have TVs and is Wi-Fi equipped. Each trip is about 20 minutes, so it's 30-minute headway with boarding and unboarding. They went ahead and modified this vessel and created a front loading, which allows it is safer for passengers to load and unload, and also it is faster in terms of turning around and getting to the next destination. It used to have 2 engines, now it has 4 engines. They are brand new. They modified the fuel tank, and they have been right now testing how much the fuel consumption is, and actually testing the headways to make sure they can keep within the schedules they say they're going to have. They're going to start with 1 vessel, so the turnaround will be probably about an hour. They were thinking about bringing the 2nd vessel at the end of November, which the headway then will be half an hour. They're expecting that they will be starting the commuter service at 6 and going through 9:30 at night, and then stop operations. The operations on weekends are very reduced because now it's no longer a commuter service. And they are planning on offering $3 one way. When you consider that our buses are $2.65, this is amazing. When you consider that the existing Water Taxi Inc. tried to do this and they were charging $15 an hour, and subsequently it was very difficult for them for anybody to use the service. So I believe that they had like 145 people as ridership. And to be honest, everything is to be seen, right? So we've been always wanting to do this. We have an operator that is absolutely doing it privately. There's no subsidy from the county or any municipality for this to do. He is paying for the rights to dock at these locations on a monthly basis. And then in the city of Miami, for non-commuter service, until they pick up, they will have a ticket share that will be based on if they have any kind of other cruises, like sightseeing cruises and so on. If they were planning, and this is just as a general note that has nothing to do with commuter services, but perhaps indirectly, on the weekends they were planning to use the vessel to try to do cruises along the bay. And that really will help them subsidize the $3 fare that they are proposing. They did all the calculations, and they estimated that they can make the $3 fare if they use a 25% capacity. So if you have, 150 passenger capacity, they're estimating that 25 is all that they're going to need to be able to break even. So what they want to do, obviously, is as a private operator, they don't want to break even. They want to have more and expand the route. They're already looking at talking to a naval architect. They actually got in touch with the boat show because the boat show is very interested, obviously, on bringing people in and out of here. And they're looking at designing vessels that can fit under the Venetian Causeway, so to start heading north. So that's the report today. They are planning on this. If everything goes well, they're planning on starting on November 1st. But again, the city of Miami Beach side is still on the state for the submerged lands, and we'll see. That's where we are. There you see what they're offering. So if you have any questions, I would love to answer them if I can.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you for your presentation. The $3 a ride, 20 minutes from the Hyatt over to Bentley Bay, that sounds very attractive. So that's my comment. Any questions from my colleagues?
Yeah,
Yes,
your first question is from Susan. She raised her hand first. Sorry, Lee.
okay.
Susan Shine, you need to unmute.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got stuck when you were at the Miami Beach Marina, because I didn't realize that you had moved it north to Bentley. We're supposed to vote on election day about that marina. So they're thinking of dismantling it. So I didn't know whether or not you knew that. That's number one. And number two, if you're counting on the November 1st date, Jimmy Morales just quit. So somebody had just texted, yeah. Somebody just texted me 5 minutes ago that Jimmy Morales quit. So I don't know whether that November 1st date is going to make it or not.
Well, that has nothing, again, this has to do private to private, right? So let me talk to you about the Miami Beach Marina. So we consider many things, and we have been in discussions with the marina for over a year. And then suddenly they went quiet. And I think that it has to do with the referendum that is about to happen for the development and the remodel. And you have a private operator that has done all of this investment. They have to go somewhere. Either they go south, and which is not as attractive as a commuter service, or you try to go north, and there's no public land. We try to go to Purdy Avenue.
I happen to love the location. The parking lot you were talking about, usually the fifth and the third floor are occupied, but the second floor is for public. So the fourth floor is generally empty, and I'm wondering what accommodations have been made. It's a private lot, so what accommodations have been made there?
No, we did a full study of all of the parking lots and parking sites within the city of Miami Beach. So the city of Miami will have to come through. If we really see that there is a need and the ridership picks up, the city of Miami Beach is going to have to get involved and trying to facilitate some of this parking for its residents. But at this point, we don't have the pool, we don't have the ridership, we don't know how the system is going to do well, whether it's going to do well or not. So right now, we're just hoping that people will be using the trolleys, the freebies, the buses to actually get to the location and go through. We've actually been looking at potentially reaching out to Mount Sinai. But then the question really is where the employees of Mount Sinai, the further you go north, the more ridership you're gonna have. Sure.
With the what did you say? There was something about going north?
The further you go north, the more traffic you're gonna get, she said.
Oh, okay.
Try and tribulation, once the system is established, and if you're using existing infrastructure, it's easier to try it.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I know you explained this, but I don't understand the connection between the private, public-private partnership. The county is supporting this, but it's being run by a private owner?
No, it is completely private. So what we have done, the county, he has put and facilitated discussions between the municipalities.
Oh,
He has evaluating every single site. He has involved them from our county perspective to make sure that we are providing the responses, that we are being logical and sensible about where we're going with this. But that's about the extent that we have done. The operator has really been the one who has funded, made the decision of what vessel he was going to buy, how he was going to modify it, and which engineers we're going to hire. All of that, we have nothing to do with it. We just facilitated for them to make sure it is right. And we have been really lucky because everybody else wanted some kind of subsidy. Very expensive.
Okay, we're having some audio problem with Irene. So, all right, are you all both done? We'll move on to somebody else.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Any other question?
Yeah, through the chair. This
Yes,
is Lee.
go, you're recognized, Lee.
Your signal was breaking up a lot, so I didn't quite catch when you were talking about Sea Marina. Because I know that originally the water taxi was supposed to go there, and I'm curious why it ended up someplace else.
Sea Marina is north of the Venetian. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sea Marina is north of the Venetian Causeway, and that bridge only has a clearance of 16 feet above the water. So it is very limiting in terms of the vessels that can get to it. And we didn't have anywhere on the east side to connect to other than Purdy Dock. And Purdy, the construction that Miami Beach has chosen to do does not allow for this vessel to stop there.
Okay, but I thought the bridge on the Venetian there at that end went up. So I don't see why.
But we don't want to open it up and create more traffic upland. The goal is to reduce traffic and congestion. So whatever vessel you get, you need to go under it and not open those bridges. Otherwise, as someone that is driving, you're 15, 20 minutes delayed every single time the bridge opens.
Okay, so the arrangement for the two terminus was done by the operator, not by the county. Now, they negotiated they're going to use this marina at this end and they're going to use this dockage at the other end, right?
Correct. We visited all the places together and we were in all of the discussions, but at the end of the day, it was the operator who actually worked on the contracts and negotiated with the municipalities or private marina on what the terms were.
So I'm curious why, maybe it was or wasn't, why Bayside didn't end up being, it seems to me a more preferable spot for several reasons, not the least of which is it's a reasonably short walk to the nearest Metro Mover station, which would connect you to transit on this side, the mainland side of the bay. And the spot that's been selected, I'm not sure how long a walk it is from there to the nearest Metro Mover station.
That would be Fifth Street Station, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, River Station. So,
Oh,
so the distance is much shorter. Riverwalk. So the distance is much shorter than the one at Bayside. The other thing is that to get in and out of Bayside with all of the traffic and vessels there, it was a long time. So it's not that you can come in and out. It was not as convenient. And then the commissioner had concerns about crossing Biscayne Boulevard.
Well, no, I would have thought.
Another delay.
I would have thought the thing to do would be to pull up on the dockage on the outside, not go into Bayside itself, but along the coast there. They have a couple of docks where boats pull up, and that seemed like it would be a better, you just pull right up there.
We walked it. It's fairly long.
Yeah.
So we walked it, and then you have to, not only you have to walk it, but then you have to wait quite a bit of time for the light to change to do a crossing on Biscayne.
Yeah.
With that, and we also looked at the one directly south on the amphitheater, where actually I believe Island Queen and it stops there for tours.
Right, which that's a pretty short walk to the Bayfront Park station, which is right at the end of that driveway. So that got eliminated.
Yeah, it was. No, so the walk was a little bit shorter, but not that much limited, but it had no facilities. So it didn't have multimodal connectivity like the other ones will have. So when you start looking at which one has the most multimodal ability or potential, the James All Night just beat all of them out.
Excellent. All right, thank you so much, and thank you for doing this item for us.
All right,
Sure, no problem.
and you're the one that requested that item, Lee, so you need to give her a big thanks.
I think I did, but thank you.
Yes, I did. Thank you. You're
All right,
welcome.
thank you, Irene, for your presentation, very informative.
Got a
And I'm certainly gonna
Get Alan
check
Fishman.
out that $3 ride. What do you say, Paul?
I think Alan Fishman had raised his hand.
Oh, I can't see him on my screen.
Oh, I lowered it. I'm fine. My questions got answered during the other questions, so I'm fine. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we're going to move on from that item. Thank you all for your participation so far. Next item is the second public comment. Do we have any public out there? Please open up the mics. And looking at the participants count, we probably don't have a lot of public out there, right, Mr. Chance?
We have one, but not really.
Okay, all right. So we're going to move on from that. You can close the mics, mute the mics now for the public. Moving on to the chair's report, which is very short, 2 items. Just want to remind you about new members, and I guess there are no new members for their Sunshine Ethics training. And old members, please go back and refresh at least 5 years. So if you haven't done it in 5 years, I'd strongly encourage you to go back and refresh. And the next CTAC meeting will be on Wednesday, November 4th, the day after the election. How about that? And in that regard, please go out and vote, please. This election is very important. And that's the chair's report.
Through the chair, I just wanted to add one more thing. Just to be
yes, sir.
Clear, Mr. Kelly had asked a question earlier about when is the last day to get your reappointment so the last day would be really at the October meeting to really get appointed, because the next TPO board meeting would be November 19th. So basically, for those 7 people I'm mentioning, if they don't get reappointed before that time, then their last meeting would be November 4th. Will be the last meeting.
Okay. All right, so each of those 7 people, I know I've taken action on my side. The other 6 people, please expedite the process of getting reappointed. Okay, so the next item is new transportation business. Are there any new business?
I have my hand up. I don't know if you can see it.
No, I can't see your hand, but I hear you, and
Okay.
you're recognized. And you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two points. The first one is, let me just ask a question to Paul. Paul, has anything happened in the last 7 days that I should know about before I go to my second question that would change our Zoom meeting for November? Is there something you have, anything new on that?
Not at this time.
Okay. So with that being the case, my point that I want to raise is I am very concerned, and Paul knows this. The governor changed the rules, and starting November 1st, due to his sunshine law interpretation, meetings need to be held in person, not over Zoom. And I'm raising serious objections personally to that. I have a few points that I want to bring up. Number one, Miami Beach, where the manager hasn't quit but has given his notice that he will be quitting in the near future, does allow their citizen advisory boards to continue to meet by Zoom. They respect their citizen volunteers' health and welfare, and they have decided as a municipality in this county that their citizens can continue meeting by Zoom. Number two, in light of the recent White House super spreader event, where people, at least 30 or 40 people, have allegedly caught COVID, I'm additionally concerned about having to attend a public meeting with all sorts of people that could be there. And I'm not overjoyed having the thought of sitting in a meeting with with an N95 mask and a shield and gloves and everything else, so that I don't feel like I'm risking my life in going to a volunteer meeting. Over the last few years, my opinion is the TPO has really made us CTAC less and less a desirable board to really even participate in. Our ability to shape and influence transportation issues have been reduced to basically mundane ratifications or just giving us information, instead of actually allowing us to participate in making real decisions and giving our input. You know, the fact that we've been doing these Zoom calls for the past 8 months, one could see we have an enormous participation. All of our members are pretty much showing up and they're participating because it's fast, it's easy, it's efficient, and it's free of any risk of our lives. Rarely, as we just saw tonight, does anyone from the public even show up to our meetings, much less speak up at our meetings. So having to go in person to have an in-person meeting, in my opinion, is an unnecessary risk to our lives. So I would like to entertain a resolution in motion. So I guess, Dr. C, I'm not completely off the hook, but there is a resolution I would like to throw out to the board to discuss, which would be the members, this is my resolution, the members of the CTAC hereby resolve that they want all future CTAC monthly meetings held during the active COVID-19 pandemic period to be held virtually on the Zoom or similar platform, and never to be face-to-face under this virus super spreader environment that we have. The life, health, and safety of our citizen volunteers and the realized Zoom meeting benefits, efficiencies, and effectiveness, and the enhanced member attendance at these meetings are all paramount attributes which overrides any and all things to the contrary. In light of other municipal governing entities' decisions to protect its citizens, We request the same respect and consideration in these matters until after the current pandemic. I am introducing this resolution for the committee to vote on and to submit to the TPO so that they understand our full thoughts on this process.
Okay, so that's a motion from you then, Mr. Fishman?
Well,
You're moving that?
I am.
Okay, so can we have a seconder?
I second.
Okay, Naomi Wright, second. All right, so now that we have a mover and a second, before we do a roll call vote, let's see what discussions might be out there from our members. And I will lead off by, Mr. Chance, you're trying to say something?
yes, if I can. Sure. Thank you, through the chair. The CTAC, the governor, as he mentioned, is the governor has extended this sunshine law, that this is the reason we're able to meet via Zoom. It's a guideline, or it had to be moved by legislation to actually be able to change the sunshine law. The governor has, at this point in time, he's extended this executive order for since March. And it seems like he's been extending it a month every time. 1 month, 1 month, 1 month, 1 month. This meeting here was extended before the deadline, and it seems like it's been trending that way, where it's been extended the day before before it closes. Therefore, November 1st is not a guarantee, or we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if he's going to extend it or not. We don't know, and we haven't known since March. In order to meet via Zoom, it would have to be something moved by legislation.
Okay, so this is a first step towards that. But what I heard from that resolution, the narrative from that resolution, it's all about our health and safety. And it referenced, that resolution even referenced what happened at the White House the other day. There's no question that when we meet face to face during this pandemic, and we're learning the impacts and effects of this pandemic day by day, who would have thought that our president of the United States would have been infected? And who would have thought that all these people in the White House would have been infected? So it's all about our safety and all of the efficiencies. I mean, we've had several of these Zoom meetings now, and I dare to say, man, that it's been very efficient. It's been very effective. We've had more attendees. We've conducted our business without any problems at all. In fact, I thought that when we used to have to take the train or drive to a meeting at the government center, that was quite an effort. I believe that meeting in this forum is effortless, and it has been very effective. And for our life and safety, I would certainly support that resolution. In fact, you, Mr. Chance, and I have been having extensive conversation about this, about our future meetings. I've been requesting that, based on the experiences that we've enjoyed and the efficacy that we've enjoyed with having our meeting on Zoom, that we should perpetuate this. So, I mean, if our governor wants to see all of us die, each and every one of us have a responsibility to make sure we fight that. And there's enough evidence of that going on with our politics today. So we need to take care of ourselves and make sure we're safe and healthy. So that would be my comment to support that resolution. So let's open it up for some discussion before we have a vote.
But let me just reply. I know Naomi wants to say something, but let me just, through the chair, let me just reply to that. Like I was telling you, here's an option for you, because really just put it on the table. The resolution, it has to be a change of legislation.
I know, well, this is the first step, Mr. Chance. If we pass a resolution, then you need to process it up the chain. And that might trigger some changes or some accommodation. We're just looking for accommodation until after the pandemic.
Here's a suggestion for the chair, and if, you can discuss it more. There's a TPO board meeting coming up. I would, there's an option of the chair can always attend that TPO board meeting and have 3 minutes to be able to express directly to the board.
I'd rather have a resolution. I'd gladly go to that meeting, but I'd gladly have a resolution in hand.
And express his concern or your concerns or the committee's concerns at the board meeting itself. Then therefore you can talk to them directly, and they can act or not act at that point in time.
No, I prefer to have the resolution in hand. I would not want to go there and speak individually on behalf of the board. I want the board to pass a resolution. I have that in hand, and that would be my reinforcement. And I would gladly go to that meeting, but not without the resolution.
Naomi, can I say something first? Do you mind? Thank you. I just want to add, absolutely correct, Dr. C. I agree 100%. But also, to all of the board members that are on, which are all of us, we've been appointed by people on the TPO. Once we pass this resolution, assuming we do, we should then take that resolution and call our appointers and tell them directly that we passed a resolution, that we are concerned, that the city of Miami Beach is letting their members meet by Zoom, that we are Dade County, which has an overwhelming, enormous proportion of cases compared to smaller counties where they have no cases. The governor can make whatever he wants to for the whole state, but Dade County and Broward, as we know, have been exempted in certain areas because of the enormous rate of infection. So I think we need to start with a resolution. We need to take it back to our appointers. Dr. C needs to go to the TPO and present it to the members so that they can then go and use their legislative lobbyists to go to Tallahassee before November 1st and say, our CTAC and probably our sister committees, if they find out about this, don't want to give up the Zoom because we'll have no one attending. I mean, maybe you'll have a few people attending, but it's not going to be a full board that attends on November 3rd or 4th when we meet again in person. I'm telling you right now. I'm sorry, Naomi. I turn it to you.
Just through the chair, that's one point of clarification, Alan. So are you asking or requesting this resolution that the TPO board write a letter to the governor expressing these concerns?
Well, I think what he's saying, pass a resolution and let it go through its due process. And that may start with the TPO, and then the TPO will have to take it to the next level.
Are you suggesting that the TPO write a letter to the governor to help change legislation?
I think Dr. C can do that at the meeting when Dr. C talks at the next meeting and tells that to the TPO, but our resolution doesn't need to tell them what to do. We're telling them what we want, and how they get to what we want is up to them. And Dr. C can give all sorts of recommendations on how to get to point A. But our point is we don't want to meet in person and risk our lives until this pandemic is under control.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we don't want to dictate to the TPO, but we certainly want the TPO to be aware that we have concerns. And I'm waiting to see how the vote turns out, but I'll be very surprised if this resolution is defeated. So that speaks for itself. And then the TPO can take appropriate action from there.
Naomi, I'm done. I'm sorry. Thank you, Naomi.
Okay, Naomi, you got the floor.
I just wanted to say, Dr. Carnegie, you proffered the question, who would have thought the President of the United States would have contracted COVID? Well, who wouldn't have thought it, because he wasn't taking the steps necessary to prevent catching COVID.
I was being facetious.
I understand that, but I just wanted to reinforce, the fact that when you're negligent like that and you're reckless like that, those are the results. And to continue to ask any committee to meet in person is reckless.
Plus, we're volunteer. We're not getting paid.
Whether we're volunteer or not, I'm looking at the number of people who are disregarding the severity of this virus, and people are dying. I've lost people okay? People are dying, and I know I wouldn't put myself in that position. I am not going to be attending public forums and things like that, putting myself in jeopardy, and I don't think anybody else should.
Not until after the pandemic.
After the pandemic, then you're not in jeopardy. You know, we know what to do. Things have been put in place to try to help prevent it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But right now is not the time.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Yeah, I see Mr. Adams. Go ahead, you're recognized, Mr. Adams.
I agree. I think that this committee basically gives opinions to the Transportation Planning Organization. We obviously don't dictate. So I think it's appropriate for us to tell them our concern, and then they can do what they want, and take it that way. But I think it's appropriate for us to tell them our concerns, because on a broader scale, I agree with Mr. Fishburne that we've been, relegated to just we should be giving them our opinion. So that's my only comment.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anybody else? Did I see Mr. Hedrick? Oh, are you trying? No? Okay. Anybody else?
It's Lee, through the chair.
Sorry, my hand was that was an accident. Sorry.
Okay, no problem, sir. Thank you. Go ahead, Lee. You're recognized.
Well, I think Paul was alluding to who's in control of this process. I mean, if the governor is the one who allowed these Zoom meetings and now is going to suspend them, I'm not sure that we or the TPO can go against that. I mean, I'm not sure whether, because I know they've changed some things statewide relating to reopening and this, that, and the other, and individual cities or individual counties are going their own way on it. I'm not sure we legally can. I totally am in agreement. I don't want to get together and expose myself or anybody else.
So what we're saying, Lee, we just want to test that, see what the TPO can or will do about this, and see what the government can or will do about this. I mean, the fact that they've already facilitated it, they have some understanding of the exposures that we all face. All we're doing is to give them some feedback to say, look, let's continue this until the pandemic is over.
I understand that, but from my perspective, this is about politics. It's not about our health and safety.
Well, it's about her health and safety, sir.
No.
My health and safety comes before politics.
No, I'm not saying that's not our opinion. I'm saying that the governor is acting based on politics and not about a concern for our health and safety.
And that's why 200,000 people have died.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm game to vote for the resolution, and we'll see what happens. But I just think
okay.
More politics than it is about.
It's a first step, Lee. It's a first step. That's all. I mean, we need to give them some feedback and let them know how we feel. Susan, I see your hand. You're recognized. You need to. Okay.
So, I've been dealing with personal family issues for a couple of months. So when I left, I remembered that Jimenez had the right to opt out of almost anything that the governor had imposed, unlike in Georgia, where there's a police state. So can't we address Jimenez and ask him to,
Not directly. That's why we're going to have the resolution. We can't do it directly. So we need a resolution to get there. This is her first legal step.
Yeah, I was just addressing what Lee said, because we don't really need to go to the governor. We could make it more local. We can go
exactly.
to Jimenez.
And the TPO reports to the mayor. So, we're taking the appropriate first step.
Yeah, once again, I mean, just to give you the facts is that if the governor does not extend the ordinance, it's across the board. That means the TPO board has to meet in person. That means all of the boards have to meet in person. It's not just going to be one particular.
Oh, let me ask you something. It's $15 for 100 hours or something like that. I don't know, whatever it is for Zoom. Couldn't each of us give $1 and have
That's not
It's
it.
not about that.
That's not even part of the issue.
I'm just going to state the fact again. The fact is, if the governor does not extend the ordinance, everyone in this has to meet. That's under federal guidelines. We are under federal guidelines. We have a sunshine law. That is what makes us. That's what makes us meet.
Paul, just a minute, one at a time. Paul, the Senate is meeting by Zoom. I mean, various elements of the federal government is meeting by Zoom. So, I mean, there's none of this is written in stone. It's all about health and safety, and that needs to come before politics.
Well, it isn't. It's about politics.
I'm just stating the fact. I'm just stating the facts, to let you know what the facts are.
Well, we understand that, Paul, but we're just pushing the envelope and taking the first step.
May I add, we all understand what you're saying, Paul, but what we need you to, I'm not going to say understand, but to accept is our voice is the voice, maybe the first voice of the citizens that are volunteering out here. We understand it's political, but this is a different day and time. We're in a different situation, a different age. This is new territory. And if somebody doesn't take that first step, maybe it's us, maybe we're not the first ones, I don't know. But it needs to come, it needs to travel the route it needs to go to get to where it needs to get to. If it's the governor, okay, then it needs to travel that route. And I think what everybody here is saying is, all right, we hear what you're saying, but we need to start this process to see if something else can be done.
There's also an addendum to that. I'll bet any money if we don't Zoom, there'll be nobody at the next meeting.
Well, that's my point.
Well, and we don't want to say that, and we don't want to say that. We're just asking them to be humane in their considerations.
Okay.
Well, there may be people that come to the next one. That's not the point. The point is what Susan's saying is a possibility. Well, then you may have another possibility like what happened with the president, everybody meeting and people dying or catching it or whatever the case may be. We're traveling a road untraveled.
Okay.
Let me just say this, Dr. C, and then I think we should call the question because I think we're all in violent agreement with each other. But again, it's the difference between being cattle or being people. We don't need to be herded into our potential death of COVID here. We need to have our voice heard, and our voice is we don't want to meet in person. Whether they do anything or not, whether anyone shows up or not is not relevant. What's important is our voice needs to be heard, and we are not cattle. It's one thing to steer the business to us and get a rubber stamp on a lot of this stuff. It's another thing to ask us to put our lives at risk, and we're saying, no, we're not. And I think we should just call the question because I'm not hearing anything against it.
As a matter of fact, just to wrap up the comment, based on what you just said there, Mr. Fishman, one of the White House allies have been pushing herd immunity. Just look at the statistics associated with herd immunity. We've got 211,000 people dead right now. You know what herd immunity would do? At least 1 million people dead. That's what.
No, it's closer to 2 or 3 million people dead.
Exactly. So what they're actually mandating now, what our governor, who's a sycophant of Trump, is mandating right now is that we go out there and herd up and die. And I don't want to die like that. I can tell you that.
Just as an aside, I might add, statistically speaking, 60% of the American public believes it's a hoax. They don't believe he really has it. Just saying.
Okay, but let's call the question.
That's beside the point. So if there are no other comments, we're going to have a roll call vote. And the question is, are you in favor of this resolution? You say yay. If you're not, you say nay. We count it up and see which way this resolution goes. And yes, Mr. Coordinator, I'd be willing, if I'm invited to make a presentation to the TPO board, as much as I don't want to go to a meeting like that, but I will under these circumstances.
No, the meeting is virtual. The meeting is virtual.
Yeah, it's going to be a Zoom meeting. It's this month.
Well, there you go. So, all right. So let's, that's what we're talking about. So The question is called. Roll call vote, Mr. Coordinator,
All right.
please.
I just want to get point of clarification. Who seconded?
I did.
Tell me right.
I did.
And Paul, if it is passed, I will be emailing you immediately the full text of the resolution, so you don't have to worry about what words were used, because I have it all written out.
All right. Perfect. All right. Alexander Adams,
Aye.
Mai Chow, Alan B. Fishman,
Yes.
Susan Gouache, Benjamin Hendrick,
Yes.
Jasmine Johnson,
Yes.
Marlon Kelly Sr.,
Absolutely.
Antonio Reyes,
Yes.
Susan Shine,
Yes.
Lee Swarland,
Yes.
Naomi Wright,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Danny Iglesias,
Yes.
and Chairperson Dr. Claudia Carnegie.
Yes.
So the record should reflect a unanimous vote by every member in attendance. That's very important.
The motion passes.
All right. So, Mr. Chance, you can take it to the next level once you've written up the resolution. And I guess the next step would be to your administration, who will then take it to the TPO. And if the TPO wants me to make a presentation and use my 3 minutes to add, just let me know and I'll be there.
That's totally up to you. If you want to make that presentation too, you can say it now. You want to make it?
Yes, I'm willing to make the presentation.
And that would be under reasonable time to talk.
Wherever. I realize you have your mandate and how the meeting is structured. I will comply. Any other new business?
I make a motion to adjourn and watch the debate.
Oh, yeah. All right. I second that.
Is it okay if we don't watch the debate?
And I presume all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Everyone,
All right. Have a good night. Thank you all so very much. Thank you very much for participating in this meeting. It's a milestone meeting, I have to tell you that. Thank you for your active participation, your valuable inputs, your positive actions, your mutual respect, your cooperation, very much appreciated. Please remember to vote. Have a good night. Stay safe, healthy, blessed, productive until we meet again. And that is on November 4th. And when I see you then, I will hear that you've all voted in this very important election. Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.
All right, meeting adjourned at
Later.
7:50.
Good night, everyone.
I think Dr. Carnegie went